Treksploration.
Resistance is futile.
Hello, Treksplorers, and welcome back to Treksploration. I'm Albie.
And I'm Chris.
And today we are talking Deep Space Nine. Woo! We finally made it. Deep Space Nine Season 1, Episode 1 and 2, Emissary, the pilot movie. Deep Space
Is it a
Nine.
movie? I guess it's a movie, right?
It feels like one. I think it came out at the same time. It was 1 and 2 together. They didn't split them up, I think.
Yeah, no, from what I read online, I didn't see it in real time, but from what I read, they premiered it as one giant episode. So
Yes. I wonder if it's different in syndication. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing great. I got to watch the premiere of Deep Space Nine. How could I be anything but great?
That is
How about
uplifting in a way. It's really nice because I've started it many times, but I've never just sat and watched it to enjoy it lately. It's just to get started on my hopeful rewatch of Deep Space Nine that never really comes to fruition. I usually crap out halfway through season 1.
Wow, that's just so strange to me. So, I mean, maybe we begin. We don't usually do this because it's Star Trek, so we all know like Star Trek and our history with fandom, right? But by you saying that, I know that you were a giant Next Gen guy while Next Gen was airing. So, paint a picture of Albie when DS9 hit the scene.
I was excited. I remember the first time I ever heard about Deep Space Nine was when I guess I was like 15, and I went into a convenience store, and they had things back then like newspapers, they were called, I think, and tabloids, which were basically the internet but printed out on paper, and it said new Star Trek series, Deep Space Nine, and I was like, wow. Usually National Enquirer's like not real stuff, but that seems like it's a real thing. So I grabbed it and bought it and read the whole article like 5 times. So, and then from then on, I couldn't wait till it premiered. And I was there, first episode, just waiting, and I loved it and enjoyed it. The whole series, really. Week to week, I really loved it. I think the reason I crap out in season 1 is because it gets so much better later on, and it feels like an arduous task to get there. But in real time, I loved it. And I think it's just because, you get old, you get busy. Time flies.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't have that problem with this because it's not like we're going to be watching Deep Space Nine from now on exclusively. This is just one of many premieres that we're going to be doing. And if we see DS9 going forward on these bonus episodes, they're going to be coming in dribs and drabs. So maybe that's a curse because it'll take you even longer to get through the first season than it would normally if you were just trying to plow through it.
Yeah, you would think. I don't know. The completist in me wants to go through all of them. I hate to jump around with Deep Space Nine, especially because it's so serialized. Voyager, I jump around all the time. But Deep Space Nine, I feel like if I'm going to watch it, I need to watch it, So
yeah, it does command a lot of attention. It really does.
I don't want to give too much away, but watching Emissary tonight made me really, really excited to watch Deep Space Nine.
I think that's an understandable response to Emissary. So, not to give too much away.
So how was your week? What didn't we talk about already?
Oh well, I mean, my week. I've had a nice, relaxing weekend, so
That's good.
no issues going on here. Plenty of time to watch Emissary. I got to watch it twice, as a matter of fact.
Nice.
And and I'm really raring to talk about it. I have nothing personal to relate. How about you?
Nothing since last night. I went out. I went off station. I tried to get a haircut because it's getting a little ridiculous. But apparently it's Sunday, and that means you can't get a haircut past 5 p.m. It's a ghost town. There was tumbleweeds outside.
Yeah.
So I got to wait until, I guess, a weekday to get a haircut. Why is that a thing?
Because people actually work set schedules, and they have to have some time off with their family.
Oh, I guess.
At some point during the week. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Every time every time I go Earthside on Sunday, it's always like 5:30, and I go everywhere I go, it's closed. I'm like, why am I even out?
Well, it's funny. You're just talking earlier before we started recording that you were looking for sort of like a flame feature for the station, and it brings to mind one thing that did happen to me this weekend.
Mm.
I was doing some barbecuing on Friday
Ooh.
evening, and I noticed that now, just to set the scene, I have this barbecue that is call it a grill. I'm sorry. I have this grill that was a gift to us when we first bought the house from my in-laws 20 something years ago. So this
Wow.
barbecue is like 20 something years old, but it stayed in pretty good shape because I keep it in the shed. I don't keep it out, and I wheel it out every time I want to use it. But I mean, I'm on the second grill. I'm on the second heating, not a heating, but the flame element that goes in the bottom. And it's gotten to the point again where everything's getting so old and decrepit that the grill has rusted through on two bars, so they just kind of hang down, and I got to like pick them up with the scraper. And the flame element, the burner part of it, has gotten so rusted and broken down that the last time I was using it, a little hole opened up where it was rusted, and the flame just starts shooting out in the middle. This was always where there was a hot spot on the grill, because I've learned to like manage the hot spots and stuff. But I said to myself, okay, I need to rebuild this grill for a third time, because otherwise it's in okay shape. And I keep repairing the parts that break with like just cheap fixes. The handle came off, and I fixed that with a couple of screws. There's a little tray on the side where you keep all your stuff that you're going to be grilling, or if you want to keep your marinade there or whatever. And that fell off, so I fixed that with some duct tape and a couple of screws, and I was so proud of it. But I said to myself, I got to rebuild this thing again. And I looked online, and replacement parts are tough. You got to find ones, because this thing's like 20 something years old. It's charbroiled. Nobody does anything for it anymore. So I went to 3 different hardware stores, and I finally wound up at Lowe's. So it might interest you to know that you can't find replacement parts for barbecues really anymore. They have a couple of like token universal things that you can do, but other than that, you have to order them special online. And once I started pricing out what these parts would cost, I was in Lowe's anyway, and I priced out just like, I found like a sweet little another charbroil, because this one's 20 plus years and still kicking. I found one, it was under $200.
Oh, wow.
when you, with delivery and with assembly. And when you consider how much the new grill was, and the new burning element that I was going to get, and whatever else needed to come with it, and then the time it would take me to clean out the old grill, install everything, I said, this is a no-brainer. So for the first time in 20 something years, much to my wife's relief, I have a new grill. I have a new barbecue.
Oh, wow.
And it's coming on Friday next. So
very cool.
Guys, that was my big exciting event for this
That is
weekend.
exciting. I owned, I think, 2 gas outdoor grills. Is that what they are? The propane or whatever, in my life. And I've thrown both away just because they got so dirty. And I looked at it, and I guess working in restaurants, I just knew it would be like an 8-hour job to clean it, because I just got rid of them and decided never do it again.
I mean, the fire will kill just about anything, and then you just scrape off the rust, and everything is fine. No one's died from my grill yet.
The fire really does cure everything. You let it cook good, really hot for like a half hour before you go out there.
Yeah, I usually do about 5-10 minutes, and then it's clean. I scrape it off, and then I clean it when I'm done.
You live in a really nice temperate zone. I mean, it's nice to go outside where you live. Where I live, it's just like you're in a sun lamp in a sauna, so with bugs, and it's just not fun to cook outside.
Gotcha. No, I enjoy grilling out in the backyard. It's one of my pleasures, and my wife loves the way the food comes out on the grill, and it's just so great during the summer. Like the house doesn't stink like food all the time, and it's just,
you got that nice.
I don't know.
And the nice
it's a special. Yeah, it's a special little perk.
Yeah, I'm glad you got that. That's exciting. You'll have to send me pictures.
Okay, it's going to be so underwhelming.
Well, that's anything now. They make it more expensive to fix or replace or repair than to just buy a new one.
This is the thing. I hate to replace this thing because it's been kicking for so long. It's just generally like a giant aluminum case, It's got an aluminum bucket on the top and an aluminum lid that comes down. It's never going to rot out or anything. It's aluminum.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, okay, even if I'm going to get rid of this thing, do I bring it to like the salvage yard where you can go and drop off scrap metal? Because I know aluminum is, I've dropped off like old deck
Oh,
chairs
yeah.
and stuff. And just for that crap, they've given me more money than regular old scrap metal that I found in my garage when I was cleaning it out for the first time. So I'm thinking if I bring this giant thing of aluminum, maybe it's enough for a hamburger. I don't know.
There you go,
Maybe
a
I'll get
couple
enough
bucks.
for a steak. I don't know.
We have
A steak that I
people
can put on the new grill.
we have people where I live that come around in little pods and they collect scrap metal that you put outside the station. So it's
Oh
gone
yeah,
a few minutes after you set it outside. It's just gone, no matter
yeah,
what it
that
is.
happens. Yeah, that's. I think that's like a Sunday night thing around here. People drive around. If you put stuff out on Sunday nights, people drive around with trucks and they'll
Yep.
come and they'll pick up whatever kind of crap you have.
Yeah.
Furniture disappears like in a half an hour.
Yeah, just like that episode of How I Met Your Mother. There was that special area on the curb that they put something and it was gone as soon as you looked away. Now I want a burger or a steak. What are you cooking on there?
Usually we do what they call country ribs from my butcher. I go to the butcher and I get these. They look like something out of the Flintstones, and they're one of Laura's favorites. So I'll usually do that, or we'll just do like chicken on the bone. Sometimes chicken cutlets, but the grill can get too hot for that, and the cutlets are kind of thin, so you got to really watch those. But yeah, just standard fare. I don't cook a lot of burgers or anything because she doesn't eat them, and usually just to thaw chopped meat to make one burger is wasteful. So I save all my chopped meat for my meatballs when I make sauce, and
Sunday sauce.
I'll occasionally do like hot dogs or Weisswurst. I love Weisswurst.
What's that?
It's like a veal sausage that they have
never
at
had
my
that.
butcher.
Mm.
Yeah,
You go to a
I never
butcher.
saw it.
I don't think we have butchers
Yeah.
where I'm stationed. It's just like one supermarket thing.
Yeah, I used to get everything at the supermarket, but then one week I saw this butcher. It's not far from my house, and everything I got there just was better.
Mm.
And it's just the two of us, so it's not like I have to buy for an entire family, which is a blessing. I don't have to spend hundreds of dollars there. I just got to spend maybe a little bit more than I would at the supermarket.
Just the two of us. We can
Anyway,
make it if we try.
This is maybe the
Deep Space
least
Nine.
interesting, intro into Deep Space Nine.
Deep
my
Space
culinary exploits. Yeah.
I like to keep up with you. I like these intentional tangents because it's like I don't know if you've ever seen that YouTube channel where there's like two brothers that's how they communicate through YouTube videos. I watch that sometimes.
No.
It's interesting. So that's kind of what I feel our friendship has become because we don't really chat as much off the show as we used to because we want to keep it for the show. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's just nice to keep up with your life, and I enjoy that. So
it's nice to keep up with your life too.
Yeah, burgers and bratwurst. I don't know why. Okay, so now we're talking Emissary. This is the first episode of Deep Space Nine. So excited. Pilot episode. Season 1, episode 1 and 2. Original air date, January 3rd, 1993. Writers teleplay by Michael Piller. Story by Rick Berman and Michael Piller. Directed by David Carson. I have to say, I love Michael Piller's writing. He was a great television writer.
Michael was he was kind of the showrunner that passed away.
Yes.
Towards the end of the run, right? Yeah.
During the run,
he if this is any indication, he was maybe the biggest asset to Star Trek post Roddenberry. Maybe then Ron Moore and Ron and Ira too, but just the level of competence in this pilot is so startling to me that it feels like Michael had a big plan from the beginning. So
Michael was really good, and if there was ever baseball mentioned in Star Trek, it was pretty much him. He was a big baseball guy. So, do you want to read the episode synopsis before we talk about our first impressions, or do we do
sure
the opposite?
For anybody out there who doesn't know what this episode is about? Yes, Commander Benjamin Sisko has been assigned to the hinterlands of Federation space to administer the reclamation of Deep Space Nine, a former Cardassian space station orbiting the planet Bajor, which served as the Cardassian base of operations during Cardassia's 60-year occupation of Bajor. Sisko's mission: get the station up and running, and assist the Bajoran provisional government in reestablishing self-rule, while assessing them for possible Federation membership. but the station is a disaster. And the motley assortment of station personnel, a combination of Starfleet officers, Bajoran military, and civilians, have to learn to work with each other before they can do anything else. Complicating matters is the appearance of a stable wormhole in the area, leading to the distant Gamma Quadrant, that has made this remote backwater suddenly very politically and militarily strategic. And if that wasn't enough, the wormhole is home to a race of aliens that seem to have larger designs on Commander Benjamin Sisko. This time, for the first time, on Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Bum, 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 bum. First impressions of Emissary Christopher D. Philippus.
Holy crap.
Right?
Holy crap. I don't want to gush, but I'm going to gush.
Gosh.
If you talk maybe a near perfect, if not perfect, series premiere, wow, Emissary is it. I absolutely was floored by the amount of detail in this, the amount of character work in this, the way that everything was written so that it was show, don't tell, the way that everything just flowed organically as part of the story, the way the characters were established in ways that would last throughout the series. I mean, a lot of times when you're watching pilots, you have to give them some leeway. You have to give them a pass because, you know, we're just working this stuff out. We don't really know where it's going to land. We don't know what's going to work itself into the story, what's going to work itself out of the story as we evolve and grow and find our footing. Everything that was in this pilot stays relevant to the characters as the story moves on. This is probably the best pilot I have ever seen, not only for the way it established the universe, but in retrospect, knowing where the show goes from here. So I have just high praise for this one. How about you?
Get out of my mind. You read my mind. Ditto. Ditto.
Okay.
Almost perfect pilot, I would say. Almost even a Star Trek film. It's better than some Star Trek films, I think. As a television pilot in general, you start off knowing no one. And by the end, you have a feel and understanding of every single character. And it's not like done in a way to where it's like unnecessary exposition. And the story structure of this pilot episode is amazingly complicated. I couldn't imagine laying it out like to write it because of all the non-corporeal segments that are filmed at the same time as the other segments that all go together separately, differently. The pilot is so ambitious in its structure, and it works. It absolutely works. And if you're not a fan of Deep Space Nine after this pilot, I don't know. It's just really, really good.
Yeah. Now, you know, we can go on and on. Maybe this first impression. So
I'm sure we'll go back and forth.
Yeah. So before we enter this wormhole, before we go down this wormhole, why don't we tell people how they can reach us? What do you say?
That's a great idea. Thank you.
All right. So as always, you can find us on our main site for discussion. That's our Patreon site. That's patreon.com/Treksplloration, where we have our crew of Treksplorers, 10 million strong and growing. You can get us on Instagram at TreksplorationPod. You can X us at Treksploration. You can email us at TreksplorationPod@gmail.com. You can call us on the phone at 707-847-6682. And you can write us a letter at P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York, 11705. Send me all of your, I don't know, your fan art of the wormhole aliens. How about that? That's P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York, 11705. Draw me as one of the wormhole aliens talking to Sisko. And we want to hear from you. You can join our growing crew of Treksplorers over there on our Patreon site, which include our cadet, Listen Linda, our lieutenant commanders, Scott Seligman, Cosplay Dad, One of All, and Fantasy Fan, and our captain, Captain Charles from Texas. Hi, Charles from Texas. Here's your shout out. And everybody else who's over there. There are free members as well. There are different tiers of membership, so you can go over there, check it out. This is the kind of bonus feature that we do for the members on the Patreon, even though we're giving away these first ones for free just to give everybody a taste on the YouTube channel. This is the kind of stuff that we'll be doing in addition to our regular TNG recaps. So you want to be over there and you want to be part of it, and we'd love to see you and we'd love to hear from you. So that's patreon.com/Treksplloration.
I have to say again, welcome, Listen, Linda. It's great to have a new cadet aboard. Some apologies. I forgot to put her in the Patreon credits, and I messed up the credits a little bit, and I misnumbered them even. I did too many Control Z's when I was editing the text, and it was late, and I wanted to get it out, and I didn't proof it. So,
Uh-oh.
yeah.
That's it.
So hopefully this one will be better. We'll see.
We're going to bust you down to cadet for that. So.
Speaking of Prodigy, did you start Prodigy yet?
I haven't. No.
Don't go online at all.
Yeah, you know what? I don't see a lot of Prodigy stuff on my feeds, and I'm not on any social media anymore. Good. I mean, I'll occasionally look at Instagram, but I don't have a high spoilage danger. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Is it? I'm just, again, it's just, I think we discussed this on the last show, just the hurdle towards me sitting down and finally watching it. It's kind of like you getting through the first season of DS9. So I haven't sat down to do it yet. And I really wanted to watch DS9 twice because I knew there would be a lot going on. And it had literally been years since I'd seen this pilot. So
I think 15 episodes into Prodigy season 2. And oh my goodness. Like, I was spoiled on one major thing, which disappointed me because it was a WTF moment. And so I didn't have the WTF feeling, but everything after that way made up for it. So I want you to watch it without being spoiled, and let me know how you think about it.
Okay, we'll do. Yeah, no, I fully intend to watch it. I just haven't gotten there yet. So
okay, but I think
the week is
you
young.
At like 4 a.m. I was like, dude, watch Prodigy.
Yeah.
I was like, there's 5 more to go. I was like, the sun's coming up. Ah. So I'm going to do the other 5 tonight, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely worth the watch. And I want to talk about some of it. So that'll be great.
All right. Yeah. So that'll be another bonus show coming up in the future.
Emissary, it's so wall to wall packed. I don't know where even to start or begin to talk about. There's so much in this first 2 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that there could be 2 ways that we go about this. We could do plot by plot, but I don't know if that's the most efficient way to do it.
Yeah.
Since it was so character based, maybe we can go character by character.
That's a great idea.
You know,
my brain kind of works better like that because I'm like the king of non sequiturs, so I'll just skip around everywhere.
So I mean, we have to start, I guess, with Avery Brooks. And I'm going to go on record as saying that I think that Avery Brooks is sometimes simultaneously the best and the worst actor I've ever seen. He makes some very interesting choices, and a lot of times they land, and a lot of times they're just cringe. And there's one scene in particular in this pilot where he just does that, you know what I'm going to say, that ow when he sees Jennifer on the beach, and it's just like, who would do that? And
I would. If I saw Jennifer on the beach, I'd be like, ow.
Would you give like a weird ow?
I think I might. But they call me Captain Obvious in real life, so I don't know.
Gotcha. I mean, it's, to me, that's the first of many, many interesting choices that Avery makes as Captain Cisco. And this one is simultaneously terrible and amazing.
It does fit, because if you understand that for these past, is it 4 years since he lost Jennifer?
I think it was like 3.
3? Okay.
Yeah.
He existed there where she died. So all of a sudden he gets a second chance at life, and it's not all hopeless anymore. So it's like maybe his first little bit of joy that he's had since he lost his family.
I guess. I mean, that was something that really struck me about this, is just how deep they went into his psyche. And what I loved, I think, about grounding Ben in that moment is it helped ground DS9 into the larger Star Trek universe in a way that the show would continue to do as it moved on. I've said this before on different shows, but it bears repeating. I feel like DS9 did more to cement the larger Star Trek universe than any show did before it, because it embraced everything that came before, including a lot of TOS stuff, which Next Gen never spoke about. And it did so in a way where I don't think it meant to be serialized in the beginning, but just by starting from the Battle of Wolf 359, right there, it's grounded in a seminal moment in Starfleet history, the Battle of 359, and you see consequences of that battle. So it's not just like a one and done. Picard was Locutus, and now they've all moved on to see Beverly's Candle Ghost and all that stuff.
Do not light the candle.
There's still people 3 years later suffering the ramifications of that disastrous day. And the fact that we're seeing people still dealing with it in such a profound way shows you that DS9 is not going to be just your allegory of the week kind of thing. There are going to be lasting repercussions to what we see on screen and what happens in universe. And I thought that was fantastic.
Again, very ambitious, but nailed it at the same time. This episode, watching it this time, I focused more on Picard, maybe because I've seen Picard since and the rest of his story since I watched Emissary the last time. And it's a very interesting part. I think my line from this episode is always, in the meantime, because Ben always like interrupts Picard and says, in the meantime. It's weird. He says we met in battle at Wolf 359. And he says, I was on the Saratoga. I think that's what he says.
Yeah, USS Saratoga.
He doesn't say you killed my wife, which is kind of what he's thinking of course, right then, because that's the guy that's responsible for the death of his wife, of Jennifer. And as soon as he says that, Picard kind of like changes. And he takes his mask off that he puts on, that he's Picard. And you see him again in that almost the same kind of moment where he's been rescued from the Borg, but he's still got some implants on and he's healing and he's alone in his ready room. And he like sips the tea and he just looks forward. And there's this like look of pain and loss and how am I going to go on? But then, we get our normal Captain Picard back, but you see that for a glimpse for a second. And also later on in the episode, when he's saying goodbye to Miles, after Miles beams out, he gets that same look. So I wonder if this like informs our vision of Captain Picard when he's alone. Because when he's alone, he seems to revert to that sad, devastated non-existence of a personality.
I didn't really pick up on that. I thought that he was just taken aback by Ben's declaration of how they had met, and of course he's going to have a moment of startlement and then maybe regret because of the destruction that he caused. I just felt that he was wistful because he was losing a crew member that he valued. When it came to Miles. But you have much more invested in the Picard character than I do. So, I mean, you, based on all of your experience with him, we'll see nuances that go over my head. I just see the surface stuff. To me, it was pretty self-explanatory. I never really thought of this as part of Picard's deeper psyche because I'm so focused on Ben. So I think that's a cool angle to bring to the scenes.
It's interesting to see somebody challenge Picard like that, and I'm surprised it hasn't happened before where he encountered people that were affected by Wolf 359. I know later on in Picard he does, season 3, obviously, but up until this point in Star Trek.
Well, again, for me, that's where DS9 kind of breaks new ground because we're actually commenting on something that happened before, instead of it being episodic. So I think that it was the right choice because if you're going to talk about any episode of Next Gen, even if you're a newbie, I feel like most people at this point will have at least heard of Best of Both Worlds, even if it wasn't available on video yet or if it wasn't like a rerun. That was the one that had the most buzz. So if you're going to ground this story in a previous Next Gen story, this serves both fans and casual viewers alike as a good touchstone, I think.
Absolutely. It succeeds using Best of Both Worlds as a launching point, I think, a lot more than, say, Voyager did with the Maquis, because nobody really knew or cared about the Maquis, and that was a key point in the first season of Voyager. Yeah.
And I think that's, I'd have to watch the Voyager premiere again. I don't think I've ever gotten through it. Yeah, I will. I think, it's coming up at some point.
Soon.
But Yeah, soon, 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 soon. It'd be interesting to see how they do it, how they approach it, because I know at that point when Voyager was premiering, they wanted to get away from what DS9 had become to go back to, I guess, like sort of a more next gen feel. So it'd be interesting to see how or if they did any kind of 180 with these sensibilities for the Voyager premiere.
I remember the reaction at the time. People were not used to serialized television. People were not used to dark television. People were not used to such dark storylines, and a lot of people hated it. They were like, "This isn't Star Trek," and they hated it. But now they've come back to it to embrace it like as one of the best series in Star Trek history.
Yeah. And I think that it had its fans while it was in its first run too, me being among them. So I feel like that's a lot of revisionist history. Like, oh,
Oh,
everybody hated
okay.
it. It was the redheaded stepchild. But I think it always had a core fan base. And
Mhm.
maybe it's like Enterprise now is getting a lot of reevaluation because it's available on streaming and people can watch it more readily. And there's enough distance where you can view it with fresh eyes away from where you were in fandom at that point, whatever may be.
Mhm.
But I think it just gives people an opportunity to reapproach the material from a different point of view. And maybe that's where we're getting a lot of this where, oh, everybody hated it. I don't think everybody hated it. I think it was universally you love it or you hate it. I don't think that
Mm,
there were any I don't think
divisive.
that there were any casual fans. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Well, it was
yeah.
Star Trek, so I watched every episode as it came out, recorded it on VHS, loaned the VHSs out to people to get hooked on it and stuff. So yeah, it was a
Yeah.
good show.
Um,
So Ben and Jake starts off with Ben and Jake. I love the father son dynamic, the single dad dynamic. I identify a lot with that. When I was younger,
mm,
I almost identified more with Jake because he was closer in age than I wasn't, a parent or adult. And but now I identify more with Ben being a single father, and I understand more what he's going through, and I appreciate Avery's depiction of a father in Star Trek because you don't see it often. I mean, Worf, but not really. Worf was a horrible father.
Worf is he's the worst father
Yeah,
on TV
yeah. I
ever,
think
you know.
voted and confirmed. Yes, he got an
Inside
award
and
for that.
outside of
Maybe.
Star Trek. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but Ben is a good father, and I think all the way through he is a good father.
Yeah, and I think that was I know that we're rehashing ancient history
That's
here,
fine.
but I think that was one of the stipulations that Avery had
Mm,
on taking the role. He wanted to show a loving father-son relationship in a
mhm,
black family. And that
mhm,
was one of his must-haves. So when they introduced Jake and his relationship with Jake, to me it's like a breath of fresh air because I always had this disconnect when you look at the Galaxy class starship
mhm,
and there are military personnel and you can go into danger, yet there are kids in school on that ship. There are wives and
mhm,
husbands and civilian family on that ship. So how does it really all work? Well, I mean, the Saratoga proves that it doesn't always,
mhm,
and they're in just as much danger, but that's what you do. That's how you sign on. I mean, goodbye, Jennifer.
mhm,
But at least it gives Ben more of a grounding outside of being a commander, outside of the Starfleet aspect of the show, which I think is another thing that sets it apart because we're not here in the happy shiny fleet. We're here on the frontier trying to cobble together some sort of meaningful existence and trying to find a way forward for these people who have been decimated by an illegal occupation for the last half a century and helping them to not devolve into this civil war, but at the same time, getting this station back up to some functional capacity so that it could act as what, like a hub for commerce and liaison and have a Federation presence, but it's not really the Federation. So he's walking this line into this gray area.
mhm.
And the way that he navigates it as he's going through when he interacts with the other characters, I think is brilliant, especially in his dealings with Quark. And it's amazing to me that Nog is right here in the first episode, you
Yeah,
know?
and it's Nog.
So yeah, it's Aaron, you know,
Yeah,
and even Max was in it.
was he
Rom does show up. He's like a
Max
pit boss.
Grajnik? I can never say his
Gr-
last name.
Gradenchik,
Something
Gradenchik.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's really good.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was just like, wow. I mean, in any other pilot, Nog would have been a one and done character.
Mhm.
But they reach back and they find, but I guess, Nog does play a role with Jake because he's really the only person Jake's age on the station.
Mm.
So they become friends despite Ben's best efforts. And yeah.
That
So, I mean, the way that they just set up everything, they just set it
perfectly,
all up. Yeah.
perfectly. It was so well done. That's another great thing about Deep Space Nine is all these like minor background characters actually get fully fleshed out, and we get to know all of them in such a deep way that some people's, including mine, favorite characters on the show weren't even the main cast, and a lot of people
Agreed.
are like that. Yeah, so just a great. This is I really appreciate television writers, and this was just a well written television series, including this episode. Ben's pain. I wanted to go back to that because Ben Avery's acting. I think he played the pain amazingly well. Like because he had this self-hatred going on because of his decision to have his family with him on the starship. That's why he lost Jennifer. Later on in the episode, when it's like the picnic scene, it's the non-corporeal scene is rewatching the picnic scene. And you kind of see that Jennifer and him made the decision together to embark on this journey. So that kind of made me feel better about what happened, but just Avery playing the pain in the episode, it really always stuck with me.
I agree. And there are like other very famous scenes where Avery expresses pain that I find a little bit cringe, and we'll get to those as they come. But in this one, I watched it last night and I was just so taken by it. And then when I was watching it tonight before we went on camera, that second time when he's revisiting it with the prophets and he's watching himself try to get Jennifer out, I just broke down in tears. Like I couldn't imagine being in that position. I mean, having a wife and imagining that it's her there as well doesn't hurt. Like I can understand how I could get to that, but it was just so well written. And I think that the reason that it got me on that second go through, not when they did the Wolf 359 thing in the beginning, but when he was reliving it, is because he's talking to the prophets about not only Jennifer, but their relationship and the nature of human relationships and how that describes the concept of linear time and how all of the decisions that they made together led to the next step and led to these steps, and how none of them, they couldn't have foreseen what might have happened, but they were ready to face it together. And it was just such a beautiful evocation of two people deciding to go forward in life. And then to see that all dashed after you have that context of watching them build a relationship, even though it's kind of by proxy, kind of by expounding on it, not really showing it that much. It still makes it, doubly effective. And you have stakes now because you don't want to see her go, because in those short little vignettes, they built such a nice rapport between them, so it was something else. I couldn't believe, because I don't believe I've ever really cried at that scene or really anything in DS9, quite frankly. Maybe a Paper Moon got to me a little bit, but
it's only a Paper Moon. That's rough.
Yeah.
But so good.
But
so good.
Yeah, it's so good.
Deep Space Nine does rough but good so well. When he first loses Jennifer, he's just numb because he's got his son and Saratoga explodes and there's just nothing there because he can't even begin to process it. And he ends up being stuck there. And I cried as well when I watched it, teared up. I mean, it wasn't sobbing, but like it really got me. And partly because, me, we talked about that the other night, that I'm still stuck. I still exist somewhere, which I don't wish to exist. And unfortunately, no wormhole aliens have come to me, and I haven't tried to explain baseball to them. So I'm still stuck there, and I have no idea how to get unstuck from there. So I identify with Ben Sisko more than I'd like to.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
I mean,
what did you say after all this time? I'm still mourning, or what did you say?
I think so. Yeah,
Something
I
like
think
that.
so.
Yeah.
You're still mourning the loss, and
Yeah.
he was still mourning. That's why he still existed there.
So I
And
100% identify and understand him, the character of Ben Sisko, and that's why I appreciate Avery playing it so at least identifiably perfect to me.
mm, mm. I have to say that when I was watching it the first time through yesterday, the whole stuff with the prophets and the jazz about nonlinear time and him very rotely explaining what time is, what cause and effect is. I thought to myself, this is a bit laborious. It's kind of like they're just doing filler now because they need to fill the second hour. But then tonight, rewatching it, I realized it's actually brilliant because you're not just getting pillar filler for the wormhole aliens. This is actually illustrating, as he's explaining what this linear time is. It's illustrating Ben's journey through his pain. It's illustrating the way he's working himself out of this existence that he's stuck in. And again, I found it to be a brilliant way to both introduce the wormhole aliens and show you who they are, but at the same time, by bolstering the character of Ben and seeing an actual growth and change and progress from him, because he starts out saying, I'm going to just go back to my father's restaurant. I'm not going to even do this. I know that you put me here and I'll do what I have to while I have to, but I don't even know I'm going to stay. To the end where he's just like, Captain, please, if you hadn't yet, I want to stick with this mission, because he's now in a different place. He's in a better place where he can look forward instead of looking back. And he's letting go of that anger. He's letting go of the grief. I mean, you can never really forget about it, but he's learning to move beyond it. So
yeah, he's looking forward to maybe a future that he never thought possible before.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it reminded me a little bit of The Cage, because that's kind of where we find Pike in the beginning of The Cage. After Rigel 7, he wants to give up the ghost and, take out a picnic lunch every day. Sounds great, right, Dr. Boyce? So, but by the end of The Cage, he seems to have rallied somewhat. So this reminded me of that a little bit.
Very Star Trek-y.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the hallmark of great writing, is when it gets better the more you enjoy it, the more you view it, read it.
And while we're on 359, just so I don't forget, because I think I have to say this.
Okay.
That shot of the escape pod coming off the Saratoga, and just you're seeing the tableau unfold before, behind them as they're getting away. That might be the best sequence ever in Star Trek. I think that may be the best shot in all of the franchise, bar any show, bar any other shot. I think that was probably the most cinematic, fantastic shot that we've ever seen on Star Trek.
I cannot disagree with you.
Yeah.
And that was all models and motion control and optical putting it together.
But again, it's also, I think it's just like showing this bigger universe. It's funny that I think that the next thing that sort of emulates this shot is when they do the Battle of Sector 001 in First Contact. And when they're all fighting the cube.
Yeah, it's very cinematic and good, but doesn't have the emotional impact as this. And it's a great shot because it shows that when all this big stuff is happening, that everyone's life means something, and this means something to this one little part of the battle, this one little person in the battle escaping, and we follow him through that. It makes you appreciate it more, I think, because otherwise it's just a big battle and stuff happening and stuff blowing up. But when it's about real people and real lives that are affected, at least in universe, and another thing they did pretty good with Shaw in that one speech in Picard season 3. To do with this kind of stuff, but it's just really done well here. And of course, we have Jake Sisko, and he was too young, really, and he doesn't have the same kind of pain. He's just like rolling with it, the loss of his mother. Let's see who else is in this episode. All of them, right?
All of them.
There's no character in this episode that doesn't match who they end up being and become. Nothing is out of character for any of these in the first episode, which is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to do Miles so that we can stick with
Yeah.
the Starfleet crew first? I mean, or the known people anyway.
The most important person in Starfleet history.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So, I mean, what was your feeling knowing that Colum was going to be jumping ship to be part of this cast? How did you see that, or did you even really consider it when you were a kid and you knew that it was happening?
Yeah, watching it, week to week Star Trek, I really appreciated Miles going over there because I loved him on the show. I always thought he was a great, like he was always in B stories, and sometimes he had something to do, but I always loved the character, and I always loved that he had Keiko O'Brien and they were married, and it was interesting and different things that happened. So I know they were trying to bring Michelle Forbes over instead of Nana Visitor for the main Bajoran. But that didn't work out. But I like that Miles came over because I felt like, in a way, it's all about his story and his arc, and we're following him from Encounter at Farpoint until the end of Deep Space Nine. So
Hmm.
it's like it's just and he was very much my way into Deep Space Nine.
I'd say that was, I guess, where I was going with that,
Mhm.
because that was obviously intentional, so that
Mhm.
you would have some kind of narrative continuity to bridge the shows,
Mhm.
aside from just a Picard cameo at the top and the bottom.
Mhm.
So,
And I really appreciated that goodbye to the Enterprise scene, because if it wasn't there, I don't know if I'd miss it, but being that it was there, it really made it more real for me, because I think that would be something a person would do. They wouldn't just go, "Okay, see y'all later." He had time there. He grew there. He experienced a lot of things there, and he just wanted one last look before he went to Deep Space Nine permanently.
yeah, I thought that was a
Mm.
nice sequence of scenes. I like that they did have Picard come and give that goodbye. I really thought he was just going to leave without saying goodbye. And when Picard burst into the transporter room, I think it was fitting that they didn't do it in his ready room. They did it in O'Brien's milieu in the
Mm.
transporter room.
Number 3.
And yeah, DS9 actually for me made the character Miles O'Brien interesting
Mm.
for the first time, because the first scene, he's going through the station giving Cisco the rundown of what is wrong with everything and what they need. And he's just so hyper competent and so self assured and confident that it's a completely different side of O'Brien than we usually see in the B stories. I can't really recall, because I don't know if I've seen that far, especially I didn't see up to his departure on Next Gen. So I don't remember how much more they give Miles to do other than occasionally tech the tech in the transporter room.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we're seeing a side of Miles that is just completely different here. It's like a new facet. It's this environment's allowing him to come into his own. He's not just that guy standing at a console that everybody makes fun of on internet memes,
Yeah. Have you seen the meme? Deep Space Nine at 100% efficiency, and it shows the whole cast, and then it says Deep Space Nine at 99% efficiency, and it's Miles O'Brien. Because he
I think
does
that's
it all.
great.
He does it all.
I think it's great. Yeah,
He's
yeah.
great.
So, and is that unrealistic? Like, does Miles know too much about everything? It seems no matter what system they bring up, no matter what kind of trouble they have to shoot, no matter what, and this goes on for the entire series, there is no engineering system or ops system that Miles doesn't know intricately inside and out, backwards and forwards, right off the top of his head.
But it's a
So,
real life thing. There are people that know everything about something, and they're always needed by everyone. I mean, if your family ever finds out, or your friends, that you're a computer guy, forget about it. You're working on computers everywhere you go.
yeah, I mean,
So
I guess.
it's definitely a real thing. So, and it makes him kind of like a superhero, I think, in a way, for us tech nerds.
Okay. All right. And no one can take that away from you.
Right? Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, so a new Miles is a good Miles to me.
Yeah, and his scene, I think, in this, besides teching the tech to move the station towards the end, was the saying goodbye to Enterprise and Picard. So that was good that they gave him that moment. And I noticed watching this this emissary was when Colum was touching the touchscreen stuff. He wasn't like doing this kind of thing. He just went.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if you go back and look, he just kind of goes woo to the panel.
That reminds me of Robin Curtis's take as Savick on Star Trek 3. If you see her like working at the console, she's doing the same. She's barely even touching the lit up jelly buttons as she's talking to David. So
now I got to see that.
Maybe he took his cue from Robin.
Oh, David.
Oh, David's dead.
New characters. Well, actually, old characters, but there's a lot of characters. Jadzia. Yeah. Gorgeous. I just watched her interview on the Decon Chamber, Terry Farrell. I got to episode 2. I watched Shatner and her today because I was like, oh, we're starting Deep Space Nine. I might as well watch Terry Farrell's interview. Very interesting. Like a lot of the producers and actors there didn't like her when she first came aboard, when she first came on the show.
I hadn't heard. What was that based in?
Well, the rest of the cast were all stage actors trained like classic Shakespearean and all that stuff. And Terry was just a model turned TV actress that had done a couple TV shows that didn't work out. And then she was on this show. And they were all very standoffish because they think she didn't have the chops to do it. And also the producers were thinking about firing her during the whole first season just because they didn't like her performance. And one of the producers liked her and told her kept going, and it all worked out. But watching this tonight, I was like, I don't see what they're seeing because I think she did great.
Yeah, and again, maybe it's because we can't separate what we know of the Dax to come and what a live wire she becomes as part of the cast. I mean, Jadzia is one of the most interesting characters in many ways. Exploring that whole symbiote relationship and the memories of the Daxes. And it was a very bold choice to make her the youngest member of the crew, or maybe next to Julian. Julian's what, a year younger. The confidant of the commander and the old man relationship. And again, a brilliant way to play on in-universe lore, introducing a new character, but also making that character an old friend of the main character. Again, the intricacies and the layers that they build into this are just bananas. It's just bananas.
There had to be a flowchart on a wall somewhere, either that or just Michael Piller was that good. I don't know. The part where Cisco sees Dax again and like is talking to him because that's his old friend, the old man, but then he looks down and whistles at her because she's hot. You know, she's a supermodel. She was a cover girl. So that's interesting. That's another choice Avery made, I think. I don't know if that was scripted, but the way he did it, you know, but it shows another dimension to Ben Sisko too, because you get happy moments. So he's able to compartmentalize his pain to keep going. So it's weird, but that's duality in everyone, you know?
Yeah. And I think that, I have no issues with Terry, at least not in terms of the pilot. Now, I'm going to have to watch with a more critical eye as the season goes on, because they do a lot of exploration of Dax. I think the episode 3 is called Dax, or episode 4 or 5. I mean, there's just one that's all about her. So I like the fact that they didn't necessarily spoon feed the audience on the symbiote relationship, and what they made it as part of the flashbacks that the Orbs were giving them in the wormhole to maybe just explain what this whole thing is with the slug in your belly and that stuff. But again, it was part of the larger story.
Did Trill have pouches, or was that like a surgical procedure? I'm not sure.
From everything I recall that they showed on DS9, the Trills have a pouch.
Okay, like so
that
like
they
kangaroos.
slip. Yeah, exactly, like marsupial. They'll slip the symbiont in. I mean,
something to type in the search engine later.
Yeah, right. Trill pouch. How do you keep that clean?
I don't know. It's weird things are going to come up.
Wait, Worf. Don't come in yet. I have to. Let me get my pouch in order.
Worf's got multiple things, so yeah, that'd be interesting. I'm sure it's out there. Anyway, wow. I had a question about the orbs, and maybe you can answer this. Now, I've watched the pilot, the Emissary, probably, without exaggeration or hyperbole, 35, 40 times.
Seriously, wow.
Yeah. And it's better every time. It was the best time I've ever seen it. The best viewing of it was tonight, which is crazy.
Okay.
But I think as I age, I understand it better, maybe more. Because before it was just like pretty girls and aliens and pew-pews. When they open those orbs, and they're like time travel orbs, are they actually back in that time, or are they like reliving a memory that doesn't affect time? I'm very curious about that. Like, does Jennifer remember meeting Ben Sisko the way we see it, or would Jennifer have remembered the original way it happened?
I think Jennifer would remember the original way. Here's the thing with the orbs. I mean, they didn't specify which orb this is. Maybe they hadn't fleshed that out yet. They're saying there are several of them that appeared in this sector, and that's where they found them. They appear in the sky over Bajor, and the Cardassians have all of them. And kind of that's why they're angling to stay around, because they feel there's a new orb in the offing, and if they can collect that and study these relics of great power, it gives them a leg up. I don't know if they had gotten to the fact that it would all culminate in finding this wormhole. Dax was able to do that in, about 2 hours. And it's convenient, I guess. But I feel like when we see the orbs, they've suddenly become segments. So there's the orb of time and the orb of memory and the orb. This might have been like an orb of memory.
Okay.
Because I think the orb of time, they actually travel in time.
Yeah.
Isn't that how
that's
how they did trials and tribulations? They use the orb of time. Yeah.
That was actual time travel, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
about
that was
meeting
actual
Jennifer
time travel. Yeah, no, I think that this is more of a memory orb.
Okay.
And it just jogs. And also, that's how the prophets always communicate with Ben, is they bring him into a mindscape and they pull from his mind different scenarios so that they can use those memories to communicate with him. So I don't even know if this orb is specific to anything. Maybe it's just the orb of communication. Oh, who knows?
So are the wormhole aliens able to observe what's going on through the orbs while he's experiencing this?
You would think not, because they don't even understand what these beings are. That's a question I have, like a larger question, I guess, about the prophets and DS9 in general. And I don't know if I've ever really tried to track this as I watched it the first couple of times I watched it, but like, what is the end game here for the prophets if the Bajorans are, quote, their children? In this episode, they seem to know nothing about the Bajorans or even corporeal beings, yet they're sending these orbs to Bajor for some reason. So is it just in order to lure Ben in at some point as the emissary? What is their whole process, especially since there's no past, present, or future for them? You got to think that anything that they do is a fait accompli from beginning to end, because they exist in just one continuous, simultaneous now.
Which is like mind-blowing to think about.
Yeah, so that's where this kind of falls apart for me, because it gets a little bit woo-woo metaphysical. And I don't mind it because, again, they're using it as a device to tell a bigger story and to give character growth to Ben. So it works. Ultimately, the demands of fiction are met, right? But if you're like a writer trying to figure this out, and you would have a chapter about the prophets, you would want to establish some kind of clear motivation for them. And at this point, they're just sort of this unknowable, this mystery that's out there in this wormhole. And I'm really curious as we go on to see how they flesh that out, if they flesh that out.
Just like the wormhole aliens don't understand linear time, I can't comprehend how they don't have linear time. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, how can you have one thought to another thought and it all be there? The future, past, present, all be there, because it is, but we can't see it. So it helps us comprehend our lives, because we only see the time we're in. But I couldn't imagine it being everything.
If you ever read Flatland,
I haven't, but I heard of it and I know of it.
It's a very simple exploration of dimensions. So, 1 dimensions, 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions, 4 dimensions, 5 dimensions, and how every being in each dimension might perceive reality. So I feel like this is an extrapolation of that.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen that explained in different science videos.
Yeah. So So I feel like maybe the prophets are just one dimension above us or two dimensions above us. So they see things in a fundamentally different way because they're able to perceive more than we are.
Right. Well,
And that's why time is laid bare to them completely, because it's just another lower dimension, like height or width or, you know.
so where
whatever.
we see a circle, they see a sphere, basically. To
Right.
bas-
Something like that.
dumb it
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But I
So-
can't understand their existence. Why little things I have questions about, you might know. Why do Jadzia and Ben see different planets they land on or places they land on in the wormhole?
Again, I think it's because they're pulling from the person's psyche.
Ah, okay.
And
so
I
Ben
think
is
it's to
in
tell
a
you-
dark place that
Yes.
seems hopeless, where Jadzia is just like la di da.
Yeah, I love this planet. This is great. I mean, so I think it also maybe to illustrate Jadzia's
Okay.
character as somewhat of an optimist,
So-
and
so they
maybe
don't-
someone with a lot of circumspection, right? Because she's got the 300 years of the symbiont in her as well.
So like the wormhole aliens really don't have a place. They just have like the white light, and that's where they exist in all time.
Yeah, they with
simultaneously.
Kovich.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kovich,
they would. Yeah.
the Infinity Room kind of thing.
Yeah.
So any environment that they're in when they interact with them has to be from their memories.
That's what I see. Yeah, they render it in a way that whoever they're communicating with can understand. It's to facilitate the communication between the species, I guess, between the entities, because we're down here and they're up there,
Mhm.
so they have to dumb themselves down to us somehow. So why don't we get into their minds and speak through their minds?
Mm.
You know, that's the way I always saw it, and I always thought it was kind of brilliant that they would have these non-linear, jumbled up scenes, because that is stream of consciousness. That's the way it really does work inside your head. You're
Right.
always bouncing up from one place to another, to another, to another, and it was just an amazing choice to try to recreate that visually and have a narrative through line throughout it.
Again, ambitious, but they nailed it. And I think
Yeah.
probably the best example of that I can think of ever done.
Well, yeah, now we'd have to be watching for it, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only one I can think of right now.
Mhm.
Maybe it's been
I'm
done
sure there's
elsewhere.
some time
but-
travel dimension things going on other places.
yeah,
Well, the religion always was like the thing that rubbed me the wrong way watching Deep Space Nine originally, because just religion is not my thing. So like every time they had religious stuff going on, I was kind of tuning out, kind of like I do with the Klingon stuff on Next Gen.
hmm
But when you watch the series as a whole, you can appreciate it more, I think, what they were trying to do.
Well, I think that what they did was they acknowledged the fact that religion is a powerful force in culture, and there are going to be species and different societies that the Federation comes across that are highly religious.
Mhm.
Just because the Federation is a bastion of secular humanism doesn't mean that everybody that you meet in the galaxy is going to share that sentiment. And that's another thing that I love about DS9, because it takes the focus off of the cloyingly human-centric TNG model and puts it out in a vast, uncaring wasteland that says, humans, who cares? I mean,
Mhm.
even Quark, when he says human, it's almost like a curse. Like,
Human.
yeah, like the Ferengi, they have no use for Federation besides what they might be able to get from it. They have
Mhm.
no use for human sentiment, nor does anybody else on the station, for that matter. So that to me was another breath of fresh air. And I think that having the religion aspect of it and having that be such a major part of the Bajoran storyline and Ben's storyline, really, because we are basically talking about black hat, white hat here, good versus evil. It turns into, God and Satan, basically, towards
Pah-wraiths
the
and
end.
such. Yes.
Yep. Yeah, Pah-wraiths and emissaries, and I mean, it does go a little bit
Kai
simplistic,
wins.
but no. See, now Kai Wynn, I think, is a brilliant character, especially in this first season, because while you have a lot of Kais like Kai Opaka,
Kaiopaka.
showing that religion can be a force for good, it can be a force that unifies the Bajoran people, because without the Kais and without the Kais guiding them, they fear they're going to fall into a civil war because they don't know a way forward.
Mhm.
And Kai Opaka is sort of a grounding force through the religion, because the religion is the only thing that the entire society has in common at this point. But then you have someone who's an opportunist like Kai Wynn, who is in a position of power and is willing to use that power literally to blow up a school as just this monstrous evil. So it shows you the good aspects of religion and the bad aspects of religion, and in a way that I think Star Trek never really had the courage to explore before, or the venue to explore before. So that's another thing the show does. It gives them new storytelling areas to venture through.
Again, great writing, because in any organization, religious or otherwise, there's always going to be good and bad. And religion is no exception. And I love that they showed both. Because, like, I love that the characters, like Federation characters, they know that the Bajorans are religious, but they don't say anything about it or try to show them the way of secular humanism. They just go, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're going to accept someone's talking about a Pah, which is basically a soul, I mean, it's a Katra. It's the same thing. It's Vulcan mysticism. And Jim, I never understood Vulcan mysticism. And Kirk is like, you don't have to believe, but it's there and it exists. So why would you give short shrift to a Kai talking about her Pah? So
her dad.
And I also I think that
Kyle Parker. Huh? What? Sorry, I was thinking Pah and Opie Cunningham on Andy Griffith's show. Every time
I'm sorry, I was talking and I missed it. Yeah. That's hilarious. You're a funny man.
Yeah. Whistle speak.
Now we need to have Barney Five come say golly. That was Gomer Pyle.
Nip it in the butt. Nip it in the butt.
I was going to say that I just, for some reason, I love Camille Saviola, who plays Kaiopaka. She's looks good. Like an Italian grandma to me. So every time she comes on screen, I get like this feeling of comfort and peace. Even though my Italian grandma died when my dad was a little boy, so I never really had an Italian grandma. But if I had an Italian grandma, I imagine she would be a lot like Camille Saviola.
And the hottest Bajoran I know, Kira Nerys. Let's talk about her.
Kira? You want to know something about Kira?
Yeah.
Kira is my favorite character next to Captain Kirk.
Wow.
I love Kira, and I especially loved her in this episode because she was all edges, and I thought it was fantastic. I was so happy when I heard that they wanted Michelle to come back and be Ro in this, that she didn't do it, because I think Ro carries too much baggage from Next Gen, and to put her into this, you would necessarily have to keep exploring that stuff. Whereas I feel like Kira is just this clean slate and can be the voice of people who we don't really know, and maybe become exemplary of those people. That's why Cisco wanted her, a Bajoran national, so that their point of view would be, taken into account, and the benefit of her experience living under the occupation would be an asset to him in trying to administer this mess of a station back to life. And I think that Nana plays Kira so well. She can be so matter of fact. She can be so by the book. She can be so caustic and militaristic, and you always buy it when she's a threat. But she can also be so fun and so devout in her religion, and so there's always like a center to Kira. And I think no matter what she does, it's interesting. And I don't know why. I just, every time Nana is on screen as Kira, I'm enjoying the hell out of it. No matter the episode, no matter the story.
What could be better than Kira? 2 Kiras. We'll get there. Wow. I think it was serendipitous that Michelle Forbes turned it down, because we're so lucky we got Nana in this role. And they're both angry characters because of, Bajorans, what they've been through. But for me, Michelle Forbes always played the anger as like an innate part of her, like anger, just anger. She is anger. Where Nana played Kira, I think, as like situational anger. Like she was angry, but she was angry at what was happening, angry that she couldn't do more to fix it, maybe. So it didn't seem like she was anger. It seemed like she was angry. And I appreciated that more than Michelle Forbes' performance as just anger.
Yeah, it seems to me like Michelle Forbes was like a troubled teen. Like she was like the tortured goth chick or whatever, if you want to give it a metaphor. But and by saying that, I mean it didn't seem very deep. It always seemed to be anger for anger's sake because I'm mad and the world doesn't understand me and you don't either, Picard. I mean, they did give her some room to grow as Ro got fleshed out on Next Gen.
Yeah.
So she outgrew that to some degree, but again, I just feel like I said, Kira was a clean slate, so we can explore Bajor not through the lens of this character that we already know, but through a whole new character that can introduce an entire world to us. So I think that great casting. I think I still follow Nana on socials. I don't do a lot of social anymore, but she has like a lot of stuff that she does on Instagram, and
she just put a book out, I think.
Did she?
Yeah, not too long ago, about women in Star Trek, actually. Yeah,
cool.
Haven't read it yet, but I look forward to.
So she's fantastic, and one of my all-time favorite lines in Deep Space Nine was when they discovered the mirror universe, and they're just like, and Jim Kirk went over there and he started a revolution. And she's like, I've never heard of Jim Kirk. What are you talking about?
That's funny. My favorite line of hers in this episode probably is, if you don't get your hand off my hip, you won't be able to lift a glass again, or something like that.
Yeah.
And they don't show it, but which is perfect. So, and that you get to know her character and Quark at the same time with that.
Yeah, and I love that. And she also upgrades Julian for his, being, I'm out here on the frontier with all the savages, great basically. And she takes him down a peg, like, hey, asshole.
Yeah,
this is my home.
Great frontier to you. This is my home. This is where I live. This is my planet. This is my people. Yeah, we're all the center of our universe, I guess. So, one thing I noticed about Kira in this episode is when now that we know the whole series, or seen the whole series, when she gives that look to Odo after Odo is trying to go on the away mission with them to go to the other side of the wormhole, she just gives him a look. So next time you watch Emissary, just look at that look. Tell me what you think of it.
All right. Do you think that she has concern about him getting hurt, or?
Well, I don't think it's concern.
Elaborate.
I don't think it's concern. I think it's weird because this is a pilot, first episode, but when we see like flashbacks of when Kira and Odo interacted before, in the past, prior to Emissary, in the future, and also their future friendship together as the series goes on, that moment means a lot, but I don't know if they knew what they were doing at that time, if that makes sense. I said a lot of words. I hope you got what I was trying to say.
No. What you're saying, and because you know where all this is going, it has retroactive meaning that might not have been there, but it just so happens to gel. We've seen that before in Star Trek, where it's just this serendipitous beat that fits in perfectly with everything we know that's to come, but which they probably couldn't have known about ever going, that early in the game.
Unless
I forget, there was one episode specifically that we were talking about that.
I think so,
and I forget which one it was.
Unless they planned it out so meticulously ahead of time, who knows?
Yeah, I don't think they broke the story that far yet.
What do you think of the guy from Benson?
You mean Clayton?
Yeah,
Clayton from Benson.
Yeah,
that's what Laura still calls him, Clayton.
That's how I knew him before he was on Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, I have to say, when I first rewatched Emissary, and I wouldn't say rewatched, when I first saw Emissary, it struck me as amazing that Quark and Odo were essentially the same characters from the beginning. Like Armin and Renee had those characters nailed from day one.
Absolutely.
And they did nothing but grow off of that foundation, but they never contradicted different aspects of the personality. Like Kira gets a little bit less rough edged, but like you said, she's in a situation now where it calls for anger because her whole world is now upside down. I mean, she's got the freedom, and it's another thing with what I love about DS9. Any other Star Trek show would have seen the Federation coming in as this boon, this blessing. Thank God the wondrous Federation is here to help us out. And Kira's just like, screw the Federation. We don't need you. So it's another thing that helps separate that that sort of self-importance that we get as next gen crawls up its own ass. I think that having Odo there as part of the station, another aspect of the station that pre-exists any kind of Federation rule, and him even questioning Cisco as to why are you here? This is my jurisdiction. I think it's perfect. And they do have that great relationship between him and Quark right out of the gate, where he says, you know, you've been trying to prove me a thief for 4 years and you haven't been able to yet. So right there, just in one line, that's organic to the situation that they're in. You establish this huge backstory like that, you know, so you know that they're somewhat their nemesises to some degree. So I think the one thing that they do with Quark, but it's more of an evolution as the show goes on, he's a lot more ruthless in the first couple of seasons. Like he is much more of a profiteer and screw people. And I think that he grows out of that a bit as they flesh out that character.
In this episode, you do get a hint towards his heart, because he wants to leave the station because he thinks business is over there. He's moving on different places for different profit, but he helps out his nephew by staying. So he does care about his family. So it shows that Quark does have a heart somewhere there.
Yeah. And I thought another bold line that you would never really hear on Star Trek before, when Quark says to Cisco, why should I stay? When governments fall, it's the people like me that are lined up and shot. You know, and it's just like, wow.
That is a line.
Yeah, when have they ever copped to such harsh realities on Star Trek before this?
Yeah, this is not a fistful of datas. Not at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. So again, just in every little way, striking out in its own direction, and having Odo and Quark there as, you know, aside from Kira, as the established presences on the station that Cisco realizes that he needs to work with, because they're the continuity, they're the through line. They can help him figure out what passes for normal here. So it's his job to corral them all together and get them to work together. And at the same time, we don't have them all falling into place and being one happy family. You have these disparate personalities that are clashing off of each other quite a bit, but he finds a way to make it work. And again, that's another departure from that happy, we're all one big happy fleet. So I loved it. And the fact that you have Odo wanting to go on that mission to where the wormhole is before they even really discover it, he's like, this is where I was found. So again, you don't have a lot of exposition about, you see that he's a changeling. You see the thing go through his head. You see him go on that awesome mission where he's doing the espionage.
Bag. He's a bag.
Yeah. And it's funny. I always said, based on this, I've always had sort of a theory about changelings and the way they exist in space and time. And I'm going to nod my head to Ken. I think it was Ken Ray on Mission Log brought this up when I was listening to their take on this. They said, like, Odo has a certain amount of mass. So if he's going to masquerade as like a tray with a drink on it, doesn't that tray weigh 180 pounds because he's got this mass? So because he can get smaller or bigger, I feel like changelings somehow exist extra dimensionally. And it's just part of who they are. And when they want to get smaller, maybe they shunt that matter, that mass, into some kind of pocket reality. And then they call it back when they need it or when they want to be themselves. Because it's right. How could that guy carry that bag full of the gold pressed latinum and it not weigh 200 pounds?
Just a few weeks ago, I heard a new theory on how that works.
What okay.
Because Odo's matter, and he can change his shape and size. What also is matter is gas. So the other theory is, whenever he's not in a solid form, he still has the same mass, but it's the gas around the solid form. Like, he fills the room with matter that is a gas, so you don't see it or feel it or weigh it. So he's like the fluid of the air is part of him too. So
you're inhaling Odo. He's just this miasma that's all around. All right. I mean, that's
and
how
where
he has
does
sex with Kira in later episodes.
hello? You can't blame him. You can't blame her. Oh my goodness, he was on Benson. I mean, he's got to have some money, right? But the other thing is, where does Odo's communicator go when he's a tray or a bag?
Yeah, you know what? Well, I guess he can just replicate the communicator since everything on
working
him
one?
is.
But he can't do a face.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, he can do a mouse down to every individual hair, but he can't
Yeah.
really do a face.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't practiced. Yeah. I mean, that's always been kind of a disconnect with the
Yeah,
character.
but you got
But-
to because show. You got to have a little bit because show. The only thing that really I thought was a little exposition-y was when the mace went through his head. I was like, okay, you're showing that he is a shapeshifter. You know,
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
it
They
was
didn't
cool
say-
and a cool effect, but that was a little exposition-y for me. Like if
I know, I
it
thought it
had
was
came like
surprising.
organically later as the bag thing.
No, I think that was just a nice shorthand to say, "Oh my God, look
Mhm.
at this guy! You know, he can transform." I really liked that scene. I thought that was a nice, quick way to establish who he was without commenting on it, without reacting to it. It's just who he is, and everybody knows that. Or I guess this guy didn't, but it's nothing. It's nothing new. It's nothing to be shocked about. There was no like beat.
Mhm.
You know, where
And-
people go, "What?"
And why did Nog not keep walking? I know because story, but why did he not keep walking when the guy with the bag that got caught? You know, if I was Nog, I would have just kept walking. I don't know this guy.
Just run. What? Not me.
No,
Not me.
no.
Nope.
Nope.
I don't.
Oh well, but
So,
it
well.
made for good story. So Quark and Odo, great actors and great written characters. So that's a perfect combination. So and I love their interactions, and it has that whole like maybe Spock and Bones bickering back and forth friendship flavor to it, but I think it's done different enough and better actually.
Yeah, the frenemy vibe
Mm-hmm.
goes. We're going to get more of that as this series goes on,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to change. It's going to vary from season to season, from episode to episode.
Mhm.
Sometimes it seems like they're becoming fast friends, and then you turn around and they're at each other's throats. So
Mhm.
it's a dynamic to watch out for. But it's good, like you said. You have two of the greatest character actors
Mhm.
on your staff. Give them something to do,
And they
please.
did.
Yeah.
It almost reminds me of a couple things like what is it? Congressmen, senators. You know, they're enemies when they're on the floor, but then afterwards they're going to dinner together. And it also reminds me of that cartoon. Was it like two cartoon characters that like they clock in and they try to kill each
Yeah.
other all day and then they clock out?
It was the wolf and the sheepdog.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good morning, Sam. Good
Yeah.
morning, Frank. Yeah. Yeah.
So it kind of
Yeah.
reminds me of their relationship a little bit. So
Yeah. That's a good pull. I like that.
Julian is horny.
Julian's always horny.
Always horny.
That's probably the most problematic aspect of season 1 is Julian's unremitting pursuit.
Is it problematic? I don't know. When I was that age, I was that horny because at that age, you're so dumb and horny that you think if you say the one right thing, then you might have a new girlfriend. So he's always saying the thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like I'm going to have to watch that as it goes on now because I think we have different sensibilities now than they did when they were writing it. And
I've heard that.
I've always liked Julian as a character, so no matter what, I'm going to enjoy him on screen. I think Sid is great, and then anytime you have somebody with like a British accent, it's so much more august that I will automatically respect them a little bit more for no reason.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
So he's just got that air of refinement about him, which I like. You know, he reminds me of one of my family members a little bit. So I have a good association with the character, and I love the bromance that eventually develops between him and Miles. Yeah, I mean, to me, they were the first coded gay relationship on Star Trek. Quite frankly,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, we'll see as it goes along. I don't know if it's problematic or what he did was problematic, but it's not problematic. So we'll have to see. But I lived during that time. I was that age, a little bit younger, during that time, and I was that age a little bit after that time, and that's the way the world was at that time.
I don't know if I agree with you. I mean, I was closer to his age at that time, and I wasn't that way. So
Okay, well,
maybe
you
it's
grew
just a
up in
matter of style.
restaurants. I saw a lot of stuff.
No, I
in
didn't.
Restaurants.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, you know what? Different strokes, different realities.
Yeah.
You know,
Other than he's horny, what do we find out about him in this episode?
he is earnest, I think, and a little bit cavalier, a little bit self-centered, which is good because not everybody can be an amazing altruistic member of the fleet. He's got his own agenda, and that's why Kira has to take him down a peg. I really enjoyed that, and what confused me is the station's under attack. Shouldn't he be down, like cobbling together what would pass as a sick bay, even on this dilapidated husk of a station, instead of just, sitting around ops? Oh, wait, somebody's injured. Oh, you need me? Oh, okay, let me get down there. Like, you think he'd be a little bit more in the thick of it, preparing for casualties, maybe. I mean, didn't it take the station, 2 days to get to the area where the wormhole was?
Maybe it's showing
checking the tech.
It's showing his inexperience, because this is his first assignment, right? Out of med school.
Yeah, but he was told that he could have any pick of assignment that he wanted in the fleet. But maybe he wasn't experienced. He was only 28, right?
Right.
So that is, if you're going to have the same kind of schooling that you do now, you're right. He's probably kind of fresh out of med school.
So
with no debt.
To me, I took that as he didn't realize it was on him now. He'd always been like training and a protege and apprentice, doing his schooling and doing the rounds and doing all that stuff, but it was never on him. This is the first time it was on him, and he didn't realize it. Like he was still looking around for an adult when he was the adult.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a good read. I'll buy it too, because he's a little clueless. So
yeah,
I like him, and I love the fact that when we first see him, he's in like a standard TNG type uniform, not in the new DS9 uniform.
That's cool how they did that. They didn't just go, okay, everyone's in this new uniform. They like transitioned. I love that.
Yeah.
That's why I'm able to get away with this TNG uniform tonight, because I don't have a Deep Space Nine uniform yet.
Yeah, and then I loved when Generations came out, how they mixed the uniforms on Generations so that, they're all contiguous in universe. And I love how Voyager never switched away from the DS9 style jumper, because
when they
were stuck in the Delta Quadrant. Yeah,
they could have halfway through when they got connected in updates and stuff.
Yeah, so, but that gave Voyager its own signature look.
Yeah, what do you think of the Deep Space Nine uniforms?
I mean, I like them. I like the departure. I was never very crazy about the next gen uniforms. They were better once they got away from those spandex onesies, and they made them into proper shirt, trousers, and especially when they gave Picard that gray uniform with the red jacket.
Oh, I love that jacket, really sharp. Right?
Yeah,
we need those
really
jackets.
Sharp.
If we go to Vegas next year, we need to wear those jackets.
So they improved, but what I liked about the DS9 uniforms was that they were a little simpler. I think that one place where next gen kind of falls down, especially when you have the brass come aboard, the admiral uniforms are just an exercise in ludicrousness. It's just like there's always this braiding and this gold sequence and weird lines and triangles all over the place, and they didn't know how to present a dress uniform for the first 3 seasons of Next Gen. So it's almost like they went markedly differently and just said, we're going to keep it as simple as possible. All black and just color around the shoulders. And that's it. And then you get that Mandarin collar and you get the little turtleneck, which is evocative of the Munster Maroon, which I like. So, and how about you?
What was great about the Deep Space Nine uniforms is towards the end, there's this shot. I think it's maybe Miles, Jadzia, and Ben. And they're all walking together, and there are 3 colors, and it just looks great. It's not as good as like, what is that? Bada bing, bada boom, when they're walking down the hallway in that one, whatever it's called. But it's evocative of that in a way. So I like that.
Yeah,
I love the uniforms. I can't wait to get one. I don't have one yet.
Yeah, I have to say that after the Monster Maroon, I don't think the original DS9 uniform is my favorite. I think my favorite after the Maroons are the First Contact uniforms, the grays with the color, the gray and black. Though I think those are the sharpest ones after the monsters.
My next purchase is Enterprise. I think jumpsuit, probably.
Cool.
Just having trouble finding one in my size.
Well, I mean, it is a tall order to fill.
It is.
So I'll
Um,
have trouble finding one in my size.
no, I think you can find one easily in your size. I just, will it match mine? So I think we find out more about Julian in the next episode when he starts his relationship with Garrick. But we'll talk about that then. But
Garrick shows up already in the second
I
episode.
want to say second or third, very soon. I feel it very soon. So
come on, Andy. Let's get Andy on screen.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. I think as all the main characters go, Julian's probably the least developed in this episode, but that's okay. They make up for it in the next one, and that was probably the plan. Because how do you service 7 people all at once? They did a pretty good job, though.
Yeah, I think so. It's just that he didn't have really any area to shine, and he only had like 2 main scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So
and at the end there was that little tag where it shows like his ability for growth, because he kind of gets what's going on, and he asks about training with phasers or something.
Yeah, which is also really cool.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah. Again, just laying good groundwork, if nothing else. So,
who haven't we talked about yet?
we haven't talked about the best of the bads.
Oh, Mark Alimo?
Mark Alimo killing it right out the gate, man.
Doesn't he look like he eats cigarettes? Oh my God, that guy. But such a great actor. Such a great actor.
And it's funny because they put him in almost the exact same makeup as his first appearance as a Cardassian, and when he was a Gul Macet, I think.
Oh, was he a different Gul? Now
he was Gul Macet in. He is Gul Dukat now. He was Gul Macet in Next Generation, and the only thing that they had different was he had like a little beard.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And
I had to remember.
And yeah. So it's funny because in the Deep Space Nine relaunch novel series, they reintroduce Macet as a character, and everybody's startled at how much he looks like Dukat with a beard. And in that, they also reintroduce Ro to take Kira's place. And yeah, they have some of the DNA of the show as it should have been, or as they originally intended it to be, come back in those books.
So you did read Deep Space Nine books. I know you didn't read much Next Gen, only the one.
Next Gen, no. I made a concerted effort. I made a concerted effort to do all of the DS9 relaunch novels because I had just done my first real complete watch through of DS9, and I was so high on how much I loved it again, that I wanted to continue in universe because it's a continuation of those novels, those relaunch novels. It's not just episodic books like my Quantum Leap book is. Unfortunately, it didn't really hold up, and I lost interest in it after about 6 or 7 books, maybe 8 or 9. I read quite a bit of them, so I did give it a chance, but I just wasn't vibing with it, so I kind of let it fall to the wayside.
Did you watch What We Left Behind, the Deep Space Nine documentary?
Oh my God, I saw that in the theater when it came out. Wow. Are you kidding?
I'm in the credits. Yay!
Check
me out. Look for Albie. How did season 7 was 8 that they put together in the documentary? How did that fare versus the novels? Which direction did you like better?
It's hard to say. It would have to be how they played it, because didn't they have this whole thing where Kira was working with Jem'Hadar or something like that in their supposed season 8, and Nog was going to die in like the first episode?
Wow, yeah.
And I think at the very end they say that Benjamin finally comes back in this burst of light, and Nog is with him somehow or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if they
Nog died shortly right before Aaron did, which was crazy.
Yeah. So maybe they put that in after Aaron passed. I don't know.
No, I remember Aaron reacting to Nog dying.
So, no, I do. Yeah, I'm just thinking, did he die before this was released, though? Oh. I'm trying to recall the circumstances of his death. I think he died after it was released.
After, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway,
so
I would have to say that I would want to do, instead of the book series, which went its own way. No, of course, I want
TV writers, the writers' room back.
Yeah, I want Ira to do it. Yeah. I want Ron to do it. I want them. So anyway, yeah. How about you?
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't read the book, so obviously I'm going to go with the TV writers' room. Watching Emissary again, I don't know if I can separate my love for the whole series for my love of this episode, because like when I watch this episode, I feel the whole series, if that makes sense.
Well, that's a mark of how good an episode it is and how true they stayed to the vision that they established in this episode. Because, like I said, there's nothing here that you have to explain away. There's no anomaly that will eventually become apocryphal to the way these characters develop. So I think it's just a mark of good writing. And why does it have to be either or? Why can't it be both? You can love the episode for itself and love it even more because of your love for the entire series.
I think that
I can say this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of DS9, but I didn't get on board until like the end of the third season. So, and then I started watching from seasons, 4 to 7, and I was so hooked on it that when I first saw Emissary, I think it was years after the finale, because I didn't, me, I don't buy physical media, and
Me neither.
I don't think
Emissary laser just behind me.
I don't think I saw it until I got Netflix and it was streaming on Netflix.
Wow.
Quite frankly. So it was years after I had seen the end of the series that I saw Emissary, and I was bracing for it to be bad. And I was surprised at how good it was. So I think that you can say it holds up by itself as a good piece of television, but also is bolstered by the fact that you love everything that comes after it.
Well, I think I told you before my pattern, and my pattern was I would watch it live when it was on, record it on VHS, and then watch it on repeat until the next episode aired. And then I would kind of watch them. It was like one of those one for you, one for me, 1, 2 for me, 1, 2 for you kind of thing, where,
Gotcha.
where I just kept watching the first season more because I just would rewatch them until the next one would come on. A little bit addicted.
Yeah, I was going to say that seems like an arduous task,
but I enjoyed it. It's what I loved. So
it seems too much.
I existed there before I existed here.
Yes.
I existed there. I wish I could get back to there, not here, but here has some benefits. Now, you said this was almost a perfect pilot. Did anything about it bump you?
I would say the yow. Ow.
Oh. Ow.
Yeah, I think I say, I think almost perfect. Another thing that bumped me, even though she's lovely and I know she was probably doing her best, I think Felicia Bell, who played Jennifer, was not the greatest actress.
Really?
So some of her stuff took me out of it in the flashbacks, until she became a prophet and she became much more staid and deliberate in her speech, because she's just a conduit for an alien speaking. But the scenes between her and Ben, I thought, were a little forced.
I have a theory of why you might feel that way. The thing that bumped me about the episode the most was the fact that so much of the dialogue in this episode is ADR. It was looped in later.
Oh, and I hadn't even noticed.
When you go back and watch, I'm sorry I ruined it for you. When you go back and watch, you'll notice if you read lips like I do. So I think a lot of that acting that who played Jennifer again?
Her name is Felicia M. Bell.
Felicia M. Bell. I think a lot of her acting in those scenes where they looped, the emotion got lost because she was trying to match the lip movement, maybe. Where if we had the original audio, I think it would have landed better, because that's what takes me out of this episode at all. That's the only real thing that bumped me, was so much looping.
But isn't it funny? The same scenes took us out of the episode for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and yeah, I mean, other than that, again, I know we've been gushing for the last 2 hours, but the font is in no way in danger of running dry. I mean, it's just
well deserved.
I mean,
it was an amazing piece of art. Stands up against anything, I think. Still, and it's not dated. You don't watch this and go, oh, that was way long ago. The quality, yes, but eventually Paramount, whoever buys it, hopefully will realize they need to remaster all of this. like they did with Next Gen, which will be lovely. Hopefully, before we finish with it, we'll get to watch the new ones. Watching the beach scenes with Jennifer on the beach, I was like, I wish this was HD.
Well, speaking of which,
really
he says it was obviously some Pacific Ocean beach, but he says this is Gilgo Beach. Gilgo Beach is on Long Island. I don't know if there's another Gilgo Beach, but there's a Gilgo Beach right over here.
Wow. It's possible.
So Ben and Jennifer met on Long Island in my headcanon.
Yeah. Where's his dad's restaurant? That's in like San Francisco.
It's in New Orleans.
New Orleans. Okay, New Orleans. So yeah, you never know. We'll take it.
So, but if Ben is fresh out of the academy,
right?
You got to think that. But this doesn't mean anything in Star Trek because you can teleport anywhere.
That's true. They just walking through Arch and they're in another part of the country.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So before we give our final thoughts and our ratings out of 5, do we got other stuff to do? What do we do?
Oh, we have so much other stuff to do. First thing
agenda?
we have to do is you have to tell me your episode crush.
Without a doubt, Jennifer in this one. I mean, of course, I was crushing on Kira and Jadzia, but they have many opportunities coming up, I'm sure. But we don't get too much Jennifer in the series. But I really liked Beach and Picnic Jennifer. The non-corporeal wormhole alien Jennifer, not my thing. You? What's your crush in this episode?
I mean, the obvious one is Kira because I just love the character so much, and I think that she's amazing. But I have to say Kaiopaka because I love seeing Kaiopaka, and I'm sorry that she gets lost in this first season. Spoiler alert. But it's nice to have her there as a presence, especially when you contrast it against the Kai that we know is coming. Mm-hmm. So
isn't that
Kaiopaka
the saying?
All the way?
The Kai that is coming.
Yes.
Kaiopaka. Yeah, you just like the Umok scene, I think.
I do. Yeah, it's it's the paw. She's reading his paw. There's nothing kinky about it. You filthy animal.
What if she read the paw of Quark? I don't know what's going on there. Were you grabbed? Do you ask first? I don't know.
I mean, does Umok? Well, it was like the earlobe.
Yeah,
thing,
Umok,
right?
I think, or is that the ridges, or is it? Can it be?
Yeah, right. I think that.
So there's a difference.
Yeah, I think it's the top of the ear as opposed to the lobe.
I do like how they got rid of Kaiopaka. Not that they did, but the way they sent her off, I did enjoy that. So again, well writing, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Okay, what was your favorite part of the episode?
I told you the best scene in all of Star Trek when they're on the shuttle escaping from the Saratoga, and you just see that tableau widen behind them, and the Saratoga blows up, and the Borg cube is there, and I love that scene. Love that scene. How about you?
My favorite part is probably has to be Ben Sisko's pain, because I'd never seen that before in Star Trek. That genuine. No matter what the situation was, it was never that real. It was never that visceral to me. And I think it holds up to this day. And there's not a day that goes by in my life that I don't think about Ben Sisko on that bridge. Just suffering that. That's of course because I'm stuck somewhere. So
in many ways, we're all stuck somewhere.
Yeah. It's just, I guess it's whether you're stuck in a happy place or a sad place. I don't know. Yeah,
I have to say I have the benefit of being stuck in a happy place.
Yes.
So
I've seen your life. I've interacted with your life, and you have an amazing life.
Do you want to see where I'm stuck? You want to see where I exist? Let me show you. And this is going to be, my wife is going to kill me. But this is one of my favorite memories of all time, and I find myself going to this place again and again and again and again. This was taken on New Year's Day, had to be 8 or 9 years ago. I'm not really sure. This was taken at a park on the island. Aww. So there's Laura with her sunglasses on, and that's my first dog. That's Lil.
Lily, I remember Lily.
And yeah, so we were at this place in Stony Brook called the Gristmill. It's like a little park that's got a pond, and it was New Year's Day, and the wind was blowing. It was about 12 degrees out, and we were just having the time of our lives. And every time I get stuck somewhere, it's in that picture, because it was one of the best. It was one of the best days we ever had as a family. I miss Lil to this. I mean, she's been gone for years and years and years, but she's still right there. So that's where I live.
I love that, and I know you, and I got to meet Laura, and know her as a person in that short time, and that the fact that you're there, it brings me joy. It really does, honestly.
Brings me joy too. So I'm not, not to be an asshole, but it can be good and bad. I don't mean, but I just, you're talking about you. I want to talk about me, and I don't mean to. Anyway,
joy. It actually made me a little bit emotional. The way you
I'm
said
sorry.
It. So, but I know your guys' love is amazing. It really is.
So, where's the 47? Is there a 47?
I noticed one on one of the consoles when they were going into the wormhole, like on the readout screen or something. There was a 47. Of course, I think Stardate 47 something is going on around this time too. So there's a lot of 47s when they're talking about star dates. Oh, another thing about that monitor, there was a monitor on the side of the runabout, Yangtze Kian, I think this was. It's so cool because it's like an old CRT TV on its side, and it just looks like an old CRT TV on its side. So that might date it a little bit, but you got to.
I mean, they had what they had, right?
You got to be looking for it. Yeah. Now I get to ask you some trivia.
Bring it. I'm going to put on my thinking cap.
Are you ready? You put on your thinking cap. I'll put on my glasses if I can find them. I need glasses to find my glasses, as you know I'm allergic. All right. Do I look silly? I don't know. Do I look smart? Wicked smart?
You look very erudite, very learned. You're almost as elegant as Julian.
Okay. I don't think I've read this question. We'll see. If you recognize it, let me know. My memory is I don't even remember how to call it. What's it called? Got you for 3 questions. In the motion picture Nemesis, what is the name of Shinzon's warship?
Oh, Jesus Christ, the worst movie ever.
It is.
Shinzon's warship is called the Praetor.
That's close. The Scimitar?
Scimitar. Yeah, okay. Scimitar, I think it's pronounced Scimitar.
Okay, yeah.
Scimitar.
We'll get
That's kind of a blade.
But, oh my goodness. Thank you for Picard season 3. That erases Nemesis, I think. Okay, question number 2.
Yeah.
In the Deep Space Nine episode. Ooh, how about that? I think this is our first Deep Space Nine question, isn't it? I don't know.
Maybe.
Sacrifice of Angels. How does the lone USS Defiant manage to survive coming up against the entire Dominion fleet inside the wormhole?
Oh, Deus ex prophets. The prophets make the fleet disappear.
Somehow. Did we ask this one before? Or am I just having deja vu?
I don't know, because I think you're having deja vu, because okay. I feel like I would have remembered the Scimitar otherwise. Oh, Deus ex prophets. The prophets make the fleet disappear. Somehow.
Did we ask this one before? Or am I just having deja vu?
I don't know, because I think you're having deja vu, because okay. I feel like I would have remembered the Scimitar otherwise.
What is the first name of the prolific Star Trek writer DC Fontana?
Dorothy.
I think we had these before.
All right, then read me 3 more.
Read me 3 more. Let's do that. Who is Tora Ziyal? I don't know this one, so I don't think we read that before.
Tora Ziyal. She is Gul Dukat's daughter, half Bajoran.
That's exactly what this says. Mm-hmm. Great job. All right. Next question. In the original series episode, The Naked Time, the USS Enterprise travels through what for the first time?
Travels through in the Naked Time?
Yeah. What does it travel through?
They travel through time, because when they pull away from the planet,
that's what it says.
Yeah.
Time.
It's at the very end. Is on my side. Yes, it is.
Which actor played a Starfleet captain? Which actor who played a Starfleet captain won a Laurence Olivier Award in 1994 for his one-man production of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol?
I would have to say that it's Sir Patrick Stewart.
Sir Patrick Stewart is correct. I don't even have to look. It said
okay.
Dorothy. No, I read the wrong card. Patrick Stewart, yes.
It was Sir Dorothy.
Patrick Stewart, absolutely, yeah. He's good. He's good as Ebenezer Scrooge.
I bet.
Right. Do you have one of those Deep Space Nine novels you can show us, or is it in a box?
It's in a box. It's definitely in a box.
You got a Trek and Tell? I see the Defiant behind you.
Yeah. I think I've showed this once before,
Maybe.
but let's take a look.
It's appropriate for this episode, I'd say.
I think the last time I brought this out, I dropped it. So actually, it's broken now. It's snapped back. And they're not making them anymore. The Eagle Moss went out of business, or Hero Ships went out of business. So here's my little Defiant. I didn't get the XL like I did for the NX-01 or for the Big E, which is also behind me. I wanted the Defiant to be more of a scale because the Defiant's a tough little ship. So I got the regular size one, and I loved like just the detail on this. Oh, so yeah, that's the one. That's where it broke.
It's nice.
So,
it reminds me of the Defiant Christmas tree ornament almost, but like higher detail.
Yeah. So they got, if I can get it so that it focuses.
There you go. I never had a Defiant yet. I do not have a Defiant.
And there's the front of it. So the USS
Very nice.
Defiant.
So you started watching season 3 or 4, you said? Is that because Worf came on?
Yeah. No, I was never a huge fan of Worf. I mean, quite frankly, I don't even know why I started watching it. Because I wasn't a Next Gen fan. I missed all of Next Gen. Maybe I started watching it because I saw Generations in the theater, and I really, really loved Generations. So maybe it got my Trek vibe going again. And I said, well, what Star Trek is available to watch? Let me watch this Deep Space Nine thing. And soon it became like the Saturday. Was it Saturday night or Sunday night? I don't remember.
It was different in every market, I think.
Yeah, but I think it was Saturday night, 6:00 on Channel 11.
Mine was about that time,
New York.
Yeah.
And it was just like, don't call me, don't talk to me, don't disturb me. Before
TiVo
sucked me in.
Yep, you had to watch it when it was on.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah. So
very cool Defiant. I have a Trek and Tell for this episode.
What is your Trek and Tell,
It's
sir? You said it was very, very cool.
It's series specific, and actually,
it's easy for you to say.
Yes, and actually. Episode specific.
What gift set? What is that?
Can you read it?
All I see is Emissary. I have to make Emissary gift set.
Yes, the Star Trek Emissary gift set. Still sealed from way back when.
But what is it? Like, I don't understand what that means.
Exactly. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna open this baby up.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Are you gonna? Oh my God, no! But your collectible value is gonna go way down. It's gonna be like Torrance and Lynch back here.
Right to the bottom. But I always made a promise when I bought this. I said one day, if I ever do a Star Trek podcast with Christopher D. Philippus, mind you, I only knew you as a Quantum Leap author at the time. But I said, if I ever do a Star Trek podcast with this guy who wrote this really cool Quantum Leap book, then and only then will I open this Star Trek Emissary gift set.
Okay.
So are you ready?
I'm honored to be part of this momentous occasion. See, the prophets do not want you to open that box.
There's a Pah-wraith somewhere. I opened the box.
I'm telling you,
it literally.
I know.
Value.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think you broke your little disc.
I did. That is Emissary on Laserdisc.
Wow, they released that on Laserdisc, huh?
It was mint until it just fell. I need a better shelf.
Yeah,
I need a better shelf.
Yeah. Don't damage your Laserdiscs.
Laserdiscs. Luckily, the disc is still intact.
Can you take it out of the paper? I don't believe I've ever seen a Laserdisc.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, like take the disc out. I want to see what it looks like. I always think of it as just like a metal record.
Well, basically, a compact disc is a compact version of this.
Oh, so it's just a big compact disc.
Basically, before discs were compact. And it's really cool.
Gotcha.
I have a different channel. I don't know if you've seen Laserdisc Flips. That's my YouTube channel for Laserdiscs. And every once in a while, I watch the Laserdisc Wolfpack podcast. I really love Laserdiscs. And Trek a Day has Laserdiscs on there every once in a while. He's got more Star Trek Laserdiscs than me, which it seems impossible, but he's got all the imports and stuff.
Okay.
The way it worked was it's an analog video signal. So basically, like we saw back then, where you'd have like a cable wire and it would be two wires and it would just be an analog signal, but the analog signal was translated to a laser. the laser would go down and read the analog signal, and it would wiggle like this, and it would recreate the analog signal. So kind of like an analog record, but it was video. But they actually pressed them like they do CDs and like they did records, where once they had it recorded on a recorded one, they would be able to press them out by the thousands. But they were still like $39, $49 each. So that's why it really never caught on.
All right.
But
all
luckily,
right. Thank
it's
you.
cheaper on the secondary market. A little extra.
I'm sure.
Okay. Now back to the Trek.
All right. Now we're going to open this up.
So
you guys might be picking this up on my mic or not, but Penelope is downstairs barking. So if you're hearing her, that's what it is. So welcome, Penelope, to the show.
Welcome, Penelope. I'm opening it. Here it goes.
Oh, that's it. The Pah-wraiths have won.
Yes. Wow. Doesn't smell like anything.
Oh, that's good.
Yep. Okay. I guess
that's a promising start.
Open it from the top here.
The Emissary gift set.
Emissary gift set. So I don't know if this was just made for Avery Brooks himself or anybody who watched the Emissary. Here we go.
It's just such an odd thing.
Right? It's just so specific. Oh, there's some papers in there. I'm sure we'll get to those. Maybe you see what I don't see yet. Whoa. Ah!
You are a mess.
I'm not the best.
You're gonna make.
So we have.
You're gonna make your house look like Deep Space Nine soon.
My house does look like the Emissary. I haven't had anybody help me pick it up lately. So we have Emissary on VHS.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Episode 1 and 2. I should have opened this before so I could watch it on there. But
right, do you have the VHS of that already, or just the Laserdisc?
CD. I have DVD, Laserdisc. I want to say I have the first few collector's editions of Deep Space Nine on VHS, but I didn't have this VHS before opened.
I wonder if that VHS is a separate edition, like maybe that in itself is its own little collectible,
promotional only kind of thing.
Yeah. Could be. I don't know, or is it just the standard one that they released?
I don't know. That's interesting. I think I need better glasses to know. It's got a barcode, so that tells me maybe it's the same as the.
Yeah. Because how many of those things are they going to be selling, right? To go back and reinvent the wheel?
I know I bought this one originally way back when it was Suncoast Video.
Okay.
They had
so the Emissary gift set.
Okay, this one I had another copy that I bought originally. This came in there. It's the Star Trek: The Next Generation Interactive Technical Manual.
Oh boy.
For PC.
Okay.
It's a PC CD-ROM, and it's an LCARS. You go around. And I think Majel is the voice of the computer on it, and I believe it has all the Star Trek: The Next Generation episode previews. Next time on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Okay.
Yeah, it says official Starfleet virtual tour, and Majel Barrett, Jonathan Frakes. Nice.
So we'll do a bonus episode where we go through that, right?
Yeah, that's a fun one. It's got good
cool
stuff. I just dropped more stuff. And this is really a nice gift set. And we have Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Harbinger, Holosuite Missions. Now, I haven't had this. I had Star Trek Deep Space Nine Harbinger. It's a PC game that you play, like an adventure game. And it's like cartoon Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And you play as I think a new ensign going to Deep Space Nine. And then stuff happens and you're in the middle of it. But this is expansion pack. It looks like, I think, if anybody knows about this, let me know. It says high resolution, fully restored 3D view of Deep Space Nine landscapes, alien and Federation spacecraft, animated characters, breathtaking original soundtrack, authentic voices of Deep Space Nine cast, authentic special effects from the show.
Wow.
So that's nice. And Harbinger came in this crazy triangle big box for PC games back then, so it was very sought after. But the Harbinger I have is this version, and you can run it on DOSBox or the CD-ROM version of box. And one more thing in here. I think you have this, don't you? But in print. It is Star Trek Conversational Klingon, presented by Michael Dorn, featuring Mark Okrand.
Mark
Born
Okrand, he's the one that
universe's
created
fastest growing
the
language.
Klingon language. Yep.
And I think
So
I
there we
just
go.
broke the front of the jewel case by dropping it just now.
Oh no!
But it's the audiobook Conversational Klingon.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, read by Michael
That's
Dorn.
just something else, huh?
Yeah, and it's got, of course, Chris Lloyd on the cover.
Yep.
So very
Doc Brown.
cool.
Also, Dan Fielding. Dan Fielding on
Yes,
the cover.
Dan Fielding. Yeah, still, I think currently, is that series still on? Are we still getting screeners?
Yeah,
for that?
yeah, it got renewed.
Cool.
Quantum Leap didn't, but that pile of shit did. So.
I'm still bitter. I love that show, and they took it away from me. It's like if we were doing a baseball podcast and they just said, "No more baseball.
No more baseball. That's
no more
it.
baseball. It's gone. No more Quantum Leap. It's gone."
You can only watch baseball on Deep Space Nine now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. What do we got here? $5 back. Get a $5 rebate on the purchase of any one of these great Simon and Schuster interactive CD-ROM titles.
Oh boy!
You know, you and me, we play interactive CD-ROM titles like Star Trek
I was
4
wondering,
and Star Trek Klingon.
Yeah. Yep, we did. Is that pack, that expansion pack for Harbinger? Is that one that we can play like that?
I don't know. I don't know if you. Well, I have Harbinger, so if we can only play it with the main game, then I do have it. Ooh, the best on tape, Simon and Schuster audio tapes.
Wow, tapes! Holy crap!
I have some of those. Simon and Schuster interactive registration form. Did you ever send that other registration form in?
No, as a matter of fact, it's right here. It's funny. You read my mind. I'm just looking at it for the Playmates.
Playmates. So should we
Yeah,
send
I
both
got it,
back
you know,
and see
we
which we
should- we
get a
should, yeah.
response first?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, and this is just a sheet that shows you how to install a DOS game.
Okay.
Which
All
I know
right.
by heart. So that's I opened my Star Trek Deep Space Nine Emissary gift set
Good for you.
because my dream came true. I'm doing a Star Trek podcast with Christopher B. Philippus.
You should dream bigger.
I should, so I get out of this place where I am. Okay. So, what do we do next? Oh, this I have.
B5.
Now, do you know the story about Babylon 5 and Deep Space Nine? Have you heard?
I have heard the
Yes.
story, but why don't you tell it? I like the way you tell it.
So J. Michael Straczynski had a meeting with Paramount, and he pitched the whole show, Babylon 5, and they passed on it. And then they came out with Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Basically the same premise.
Basically.
But it went in two different directions. Both are excellent. So I'm glad we got both, but it's weird that they did that thing where, what is it, Deep Impact and Armageddon or whatever? They're
Yeah,
like,
same time.
We like your idea, but we're not going to do it. And then they did it. So it's interesting if you find interviews with J. Michael Straczynski. I actually interviewed the creator of Babylon 5 at Comic-Con. J. Michael Straczynski. Met him. Great guy. Interesting guy.
From what I understand, he doesn't really have any ill feeling, or he doesn't like harbor any resentment.
I think the quote was, "I'm going to sue their asses off," but then they convinced him not to, because if it was tied up in court, then maybe both series wouldn't have went and he would have lost his opportunity. So he just bit the bullet on that one.
Then maybe I was completely misinformed about that.
Maybe it might depend on which interview you see with him. I don't know if you saw the interview I did with him. That's coming out on Station 823 later this year, I think. Going to do a big Babylon 5 review of the VHS Collector's Series Laserdiscs with a Babylon 5 home media expert from Canada, and a little bit of review of the series itself.
I was going to watch Babylon 5 as my next binge because I'd never seen it, and I was looking for something new to watch. But
Totally
then I
worth it.
decided to do the complete Star Trek rewatch
Yeah,
instead.
if you ever get an
so-
opportunity, I'd say go for it. People look silly. The makeup looks silly. I mean, it starts off with like lizards and vampires, but by the end of it, you've been through such a good story. And
I mean, so
crying
is
and
there
love,
a
and it's
more
crazy.
apt metaphor for life, huh? Right?
Vampires and lizards. Yeah, but it's a great show, and that's one that he had the whole idea for the show from start to finish written out, and he wrote all but a few episodes. So really great writing.
Wow.
And it was an honor to meet him. It really was. Shake his hand, talk to him.
Cool.
Yeah, one of my perks in life. All right, where do we go from here? Where do we go?
Well, I mean, this is where we usually do our final thoughts.
Okay,
and,
final thoughts and ratings out of 5. Christopher D. Philippus, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Episode 1 and 2, Emissary.
Gush, gush,
Gush,
gush,
gush,
gush, gush, gush, gush, gush, gush, gush,
Gush, gush, gush.
Yes. I've said it all. I mean, I'd just be repeating myself at this point. I think that DS9 is a watershed moment in the Star Trek franchise. I think that DS9 made it possible for Star Trek to become anything it wanted to be and to tell any kind of story that they wanted to tell through the lens of Star Trek. Without DS9, I don't know where the franchise would be. I don't know what kind of stories they'd be telling, but it certainly wouldn't be the same. I'm so happy that we were able to watch this premiere again, because it just reminds me how good all of it is. And like you said, it gives you just that feeling, that rapturous feeling of going back to something that you just love dearly and having it hold up every single time. The seams don't show. So I'm going to give this 10 wows out of 5.
You win the wacky object, I think. Gush, gush, gush. Gush. Love. Feels like coming home again. It really does. Except it's better than you remember. Which is cool. Which is an amazing feeling. You don't often get that. Usually you're disappointed, and the seams do show when you go back and look. But in this case, it does not. And I'm excited to go on this ride again, because it is a hell of a ride. So much stuff happens. And I really can't think of a moment where they crapped the bed or phoned it in that I don't have in my memory. I remember it being one long, like, best way I could describe it is like a novel series or something, but it's that good. So I'm going to go ahead and agree with you and give it 10 Dabo Girl underboobs.
I did recall that scene. Yes.
Love
that's
underboob.
why that's really why you want this re-rendered in 4K.
Yeah, exactly. 4K underboob, and of course Jennifer in a bikini. It's weird with underboob, because I feel like I shouldn't be able to see underboob, but I guess it's okay. But I feel like
as long as there's no areola, you're good. No,
yeah, apparently. Like, so everything but
there's no boob. Nothing's taboo.
Everything but the areola.
As long as
the guys have areola, but not the everything.
But
else.
You can see those, though. Those are okay. We talked about this during Jogging Boner Planet. Yeah, exactly.
So much more to come. So many more characters in this Deep Space Nine rewatch we're going to be able to talk about and fawn over and gush over. I can't wait. So what is next on the agenda? I know we got a TNG, and we have maybe a Voyager. Is that what's going on?
You said that we're going to be doing the premiere episodes of each, so we're going to watch. I think the next TNG recap is episode 11, season 1, Haven, and I guess the next bonus show, like this one, is going to be Voyager season 1, episode 1, Corn on the Cob.
Caretaker, exactly. Corn on the Cob. If you said Caretaker, I was going to say Corn on the Cob. You said Corn on the Cob, I'm going to say Caretaker. So yeah. Man, that might not be a good time to watch right after watching Emissary.
Well, listen, I mean, everything is its own animal, and we will approach it. We will approach it, and this is always my goal, is try to understand. No writer sets out to write something poorly or bad. So you want to approach it on its own terms and give it the benefit of the doubt, as at least they were earnestly trying to do something here. Let's see what we can mine out of that, not just poo-poo it or shit all over it or dismiss it right out of hand, right?
I don't think it's bad. It's just not as good.
Nothing's as good.
There you go.
It's as simple as that.
So yeah, this is the next one's the popcorn match. That's what we're calling it. So what else do? We tell people where to find us if they haven't found us while they're watching.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't found us, you're here watching us on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@Treksploration. Go and see us on our Patreon site. That's where we have our main hub of discussion. That's patreon.com/Treksploration. You can also Instagram us at TreksplorationPod. You can X us at Treksploration. You can email us at TreksplorationPod@gmail.com. You can call us at 707-847-6682. And you can send me an Emissary gift packet at P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York 11705. I'll make sure to divvy it up with Albie. And all of us will reap the benefits. So please come tell us what you think of DS9. Tell us that you hated it. There got to be some haters out there. Tell us that you hated it and why. Like, we want to hear some kind of contrasting view, because DS9 is, if anything, divisive. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there watching this saying that we're completely full of it. So
yeah, I want to know
like
what
hear
Listen
what they
Linda
say.
says. I want to know what our new cadet says. I want to know what all of our crew says. And I want to know what you think about Deep Space Nine. So this is our first episode. Let us know how you liked it. And let us know what your favorite part of this episode was, Emissary, and what you're most looking forward to on the rewatch. So remember, not all these bonus episodes are going to be public. So you might want to subscribe to the Patreon for all bonus episodes.
Please. And thank
And
you.
more, like playing Harbinger, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
Could be.
We've been known to
You
do
know,
that. Play some Star Trek games.
Yeah, I have a Star Trek board game. Maybe we could figure out a way to play that too.
I would never be bored playing that game.
I see what you did there.
So for Treksploration, I'm Albie.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll see you next time
On the other side of the wormhole.
for Corn on the Cob. I can't believe I opened it.
Attention customer registrant number 203. A holosuite has just become available for your use. Please make your way to the holosuites located on the second level and accessed by the stairway at the rear of the bar. We remind you that Quarks takes no responsibility for any loss of property, injury, or death resulting from your holosuite experience. Enjoy your stay.